All right. Y'all ready to hear some sanity? Am I the only one that wants to hear some sanity?
Sanity, please.
Sanity, please. We got to have some sanity. Good. I'm so happy to hear that. Hello, everybody that's online. I'm Earl Purdy, and I want to welcome you to a course in how now to murder somebody. Oh, it's a course in miracles. It's a course in miracles. It's a course in miracles. It's a course in how can I see things another way? 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 How can I see this 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 another way? Does everybody have a this? Okay. How can I see this another way? How can I see this another way? How can I see them 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 another way? How can I see this another way that will give me peace? That will give me peace. Do you want that?
Yes.
Okay. Then remember that you need not believe the ideas. You need not accept the ideas. You need not even welcome the ideas. Some of the ideas you may actively resist, like, hell no. Right. You might actively resist some of the things the Course in Miracles says. You might actively resist some of the Course in Miracles principles. You may resist some of the things that the Course in Miracles says. Some of it you may find hard to believe. I might say some stuff from A Course in Miracles that you say, that's hard to believe, okay? Some of the things I say may be startling from A Course in Miracles because they're so opposite and so different from the way we've been taught, so it may startle us. You are not asked to judge the ideas at all, which is the same as saying you are not being asked to analyze the ideas at all. So how will you know if this stuff will work if you are not to analyze it? The way that you will know that it works is the use of the ideas. If you use it. So I like, every now and then, I like to read the introduction to the Course in Miracles. This is A Course in Miracles. Guess what? It's a required course. Only the time you take the Course in Miracles is voluntary. It's up to you when you want to decide to take the course and how to see things differently. Then it says free will. I love this. Free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. So you having free will does not mean that you're the one that's going to make up the course to how you're going to let go of your blocks. Free will doesn't mean that you're going to be the one. I like to use the analogy that if I wanted to be a lawyer, I would have to go to law school. When I go to law school, they tell me what to take, right? The program is already there. They tell me what to take. So where does my free will come in? I can decide whether I want to go part-time, full-time, in the day, in the night. So the free will just means that I can elect what I want to take at a given time. The course doesn't aim at teaching the meaning of love. The course is not trying to teach the meaning of love. Why isn't the course trying to teach the meaning of love? It says because love is beyond what can be taught. The meaning of love is what is beyond what can be taught. So what does the course do then? It aims at removing the blocks to the awareness of the presence of your peace. It's about removing the blocks. What is the Course in Miracles for? Removing the blocks to my awareness of love. There's some blocks. I keep hearing I'm supposed to be happy all the time, and I can be happy all the time, and I can have peace all the time. So what I need is to have the blocks to that be removed. That's the purpose of the course. And then it says, it does aim, however, at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. Love is not something that you have to earn. Love is not something that you have to earn. Real love is not something that you have to earn. It's your inheritance. It's what you deserve just because of who you are as a child of God. Like whoever inherits Bezos billions of dollars, I bet you they didn't build an Amazon, right? Just because they're his child and he leaves it to them then they get it because it's their inheritance. And this is the same principle the Course is telling us. You all deserve to be abundant, and you deserve to be healthy, and you deserve to be happy just because of who created you and what created you and who you are. There's nothing that you need to do to or make to justify your value. You're valuable whether you think so or not. You are valuable whether anybody else thinks so or not. And you deserve love whether anybody thinks so or not, because it's your inheritance. But I don't know that. Right, that's why you're doing A Course in Miracles. That's why you're doing any particular spiritual discipline. Is so you can do what? Get rid of the blocks to the awareness of love. Then it says the opposite of love is fear. So would that mean that if I'm in a relationship with someone and I feel fear all the time, anger all the time, upset a lot, then I'm not experiencing love? So it's no such thing as anger in love, guilt in love. There is no guilt in love. There is no anger in love. There is no attack in love. There is no jealousy in love. There's jealousy in fear. There's attack in fear. There's anger in fear. So a lot of times when people think they're loving someone, they're actually fearing them. But the Course calls our love an attractive form of fear. It's fear, but it's fear we like. And so we don't call it fear. What do we call it? We call it love. Or better yet, we call it you're special to me. And that's what the Course says. That's the definition of fear and love is specialness. So we want to recognize what we're shooting for is unconditional love that supports us all the time, no matter what. That we can always depend on all the time, no matter what. So the opposite of love is fear, but what's all encompassing, doesn't leave anybody out, that's love, can have no opposite. So the Course can be therefore summed up very simply in this way. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. If I have a real relationship, it can't be threatened. If I have a real awareness of abundance and wealth and what that really means, I can't lose it. It can't be threatened. If I have real health, I never get sick. If I have real peace, I'm never worried and concerned. So something real cannot be threatened. How do you know that jobs as we think of them are unreal? It looks like they can be threatened. It looks like you could have a job one day and you could be laid off the next, right? So we know from a Course perspective, jobs are unreal. Not because you don't go there every week. It's not real because it will not last forever. And the Course's definition of what's unreal is what is not permanent. And the Course's definition of what's unreal is what's temporary. And what's real is what's permanent, which you can always depend on. So when the Course says the world is an illusion, it's only saying the world is something that changes and something that's not permanent and that's something that does not last. Even our sun one day in the distant future is going to go out. So when the Course says something is an illusion, it's just saying it's something that's not permanent. All right, so then what do we do with all this impermanence around us? Great question. Well, the Course says what you do with this world, this illusion, what's not permanent, is you use it to move you toward love that's real, and peace that's real, and what's permanent and what you can count on. So we are supposed to use everything here for love, everything here for peace, for joy. So that's what it means when it says nothing real, that's love, cannot be threatened. Nothing unreal, which is fear, exists. Fear doesn't really exist. Fear doesn't really exist. Fear doesn't really exist. Fear is something that's coming from within us. Fear is something that we're making up. That's why you can be afraid of snakes and somebody else isn't. So if being afraid of snakes was built in, then everybody would be afraid of snakes. So the mere fact that some people aren't and some people are means fear is internal and not external. So all the fear, all the worry, all the concern that a person experiences is coming from themselves. It's not coming from anything outside. There are some people that are lion trainers, and they can be in the ring with the lion and don't be afraid, right? Because they're not generating fear from within themselves. It took me a minute to get out, to really realize the power of the statement, all my fear is coming from me. All my guilt is coming from me. All the anger, shame, anything it's not coming from you. Nothing I'm feeling right now is coming from you. The Course in Miracles teaches the only thing we can truly share is love. Love we can share. Everything else is an individual feeling that you're giving yourself. So when I said, I feel your love, if it's real love, that could definitely be true. But I'm not feeling your upset. I'm empathizing with it. I've been upset. Now you're upset, so I can relate. And then maybe I'm making myself upset about whatever you're upset about. So I'm joining you in the upset. But the truth is, you're feeling your upset, and I'm feeling my upset. And when we get upset together, we call it a love relationship. He said that the Course says, until you know what love is, people form relationships just because they don't want to suffer by themselves. It's really kind of funny when you think of it. Like, I'm kind of a miserable, unhappy person, but I don't want to do that by myself. So I'm on Match.com tonight. Okay, I want somebody to suffer with me. Okay. And so the Course says, I'm not trying to get rid of your special relationships. I'm just trying to get rid of the fear and conflict and upset and anger that you all give yourselves. So I'm not trying to get rid of your one-on-one relationships. As a matter of fact, that's a person that's been assigned to you right now for you to learn through and to learn with. And you call them your mate or your cousin or your parent or your boss. There are no relationships that you ever have, according to the Course, that you're having by accident. There are no such things as accidents. You didn't meet that person by accident. You didn't have that child by accident. So nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. All right, now work out of the book, because what I want to do is to encourage people to dive into the Course for themselves and read and study the material, because it's when you read and study the material in my 45 years of working with it that people get the miracles that it promises. All right? I'm here to support you, but I can't substitute for your individual study. And that's very important, because sometimes people read the Course and they say, oh, it's not working, but the truth is they haven't actually read the Course. They haven't actually studied it. So right now we're talking about 5 thoughts from the Course. And today, hopefully we're going to laugh, we're going to reflect, we might even get free. And guess what? We might even get free. So the more you participate, the more you benefit. So just let me say, this Course says the teacher learns the most. So I'm using you to remember this. I'm teaching what I need to learn. I'm teaching what I need to learn. I'm teaching what I need to learn, because if I teach it, I'm going to hear it every time I teach it. So every time I teach this class, I accept what it's saying more, and my life improves. What do I mean by my life improves? It means I have more peace about my life. It doesn't mean I don't have the things that come up in other people's lives. What I'm saying is, after studying the Course, I don't look at it the way they do, and I don't react to it the way they do, so I can hear my guidance more. That you can hear your divine guidance, the Course says, when you're in peace. That when you're in conflict, you have a tendency to just listen to yourself and your interpretation of what's going on. So wherever you're feeling afraid or upset right now, that's the area of your life that you're using your judgments. And that's why you don't feel happy right now. It's not the situation that you think you're going through. And I admit some situations can be challenging, but those situations don't have to make you lose your peace. You're losing your peace because of what you're telling yourself about the situation. and about the thing. So we got 5 thoughts, which is number 1, it is, I'm not the victim of the world I see. Now, if you're following along in the book, I'm going to show you about how you can get rid of this attitude that the Course in Miracles is difficult to read. First of all, it's only talking about love or fear. Even if it uses Christian terminology, it's describing universal spiritual themes. So if you want the modern language version of the Course, it's just talking about love or fear, okay? And when it says world, and everything I'm saying, it tells you this. He says the world is a false perception. The world is a perception. See, your world is just your perception. It's the way you're looking at it that's determining the world you see. Agreed? Right? So when you said the world, you're really talking about your interpretation, your perception. So when it says, I am not the victim of the world I see, I am not the victim of the perception I see. I'm not the victim of the false perception that I'm seeing. What would be an example of a false perception? It would be a perception that's causing you fear and upset. So you're going to learn as you study the Course that the quickest way to tell when you're not seeing something correctly is how much upset you have. The degree of your upset is the degree to which you're not seeing the situation correctly or from a perspective of peace and the connection to Source or God. So, yes, I feel afraid about what I think is happening in my marriage, but what I'm really afraid of is my perception of what's happening in my marriage. I think I'm upset with my job, but what I'm really upset with is my false perception of my job, okay? This is practical stuff. There's nothing that I'm going to share with you that you can't apply immediately. And that's how the Course says you can tell something that's coming from God and coming from the truth versus something that's coming from the world or coming from you. He says when your false self gives you a direction, it's always something that you can only accomplish in the future. So when you tell yourself, I'll be happy after I get my college degree, then you know a college degree is not the key to happiness. As soon as you say, I'm going to be happy when I get that car and that house, or better yet, that soulmate, then you know none of those things that you just mentioned really has anything to do with you being happy. Because how can happiness be real and be anywhere except available to you now? Because if I'm going to be happy, I have to be happy now. So that means the answers always happen now. So the rule number 1 is I need to tell myself I'm not the victim of the world I see. Okay? For example, that means you're not stuck. It means you're not powerless. It means, and I love this one, it means that you're not at the mercy of other people's craziness. You're not at the mercy of other people's craziness. You're the one that's giving them the power to press your buttons. You're the one that's giving them the power to press your buttons. Have you ever had somebody press your buttons? No, we won't go any deeper than that. Okay, we're going to leave it at that. And the Course also says, they press your buttons, then you blame them. Right? You press my buttons, I blame you. So let's just look at this for a minute. Okay. If I gave someone a sword and then said, stab me every Thursday, whose lesson is it really? The person that's stabbing you every Thursday, or you being the one that's saying, stab me every Thursday? Well, that's the way it is when you're blaming other people for what you're going through. It's the exact same principle. It's like, I'm hurting myself, but I'm going to say you do it. You're doing it. I'm going to hurt myself, and I'm going to assign it to you as being the one that's causing it. The Course says when a person hates themselves, then they want to attack and punish themselves, but even they realize that's insane for you to do it to yourself. So you pick people to do it, and you call it relationships. Okay? So I mean, that's it really. And some of us come to the realization of, hey, I'm just using you to hurt myself. Have you ever said that? Sometimes I refuse to get in relationships with people because I know that they would use me to hurt themselves. So I will refuse to get into intimate, close friendship or connection because I can tell if they're not taking any responsibility for their experience that they're going to blame me when they're unhappy. I already know, even though right now they're telling me they'd never be upset at me and they love me so much and I'm the most important thing and they would never do anything. Yeah. You just mean until I don't do what you want me to do. Then you're going to change. As long as you don't know what love is, you got to act out of fear. So the Course is saying, so where in your life, and that's what I want to ask you, where in your life do you feel like a victim right now? What if you told yourself, I'm not the victim? And you told yourself this, I'm getting upset with my friend. I am the creator of my interpretation. I'm getting upset right now. I'm the creator of this interpretation. I'm wearing right now. I'm the creator of this interpretation. I'm happy right now. I'm the creator of this interpretation. I feel really enthusiastic about my future. I'm the creator of this interpretation. I am not the victim of the world I see. Here's another reason why you're not the victim. Look at sentence number 1. How can I be the victim? I do not want that on my recording.
It'll just get hotter. It'll take a while.
I thought I was losing my mind for a minute. But then I realized I want to lose my mind. That's the mind I want to lose, is mine. So if I ever lose my mind, don't y'all dare bring it back to me. Oh man, the Course in Miracles teaches everything just the opposite from the way we've been taught. Okay, it says if you want to ever know what's the right thing to do the opposite of whatever you see fearful, angry, separate people doing. So whatever you see that's happening in the world, you know that's not the answer to anything, because there's too much conflict and separation in the world. So there's no way we're practicing the truth with each other, and we're in a world of so much chaos. So the world can't hurt someone who doesn't obey it, right? The world is all about using guilt to manipulate people into doing what they should do. Guilt, anger, attack. All right, so if I don't obey that idea of using guilt, anger, and attack, then guilt, anger, and attack is going to fade out of my life, and it won't be touching me. So every time I disobey what my ego tells me to do, like to hold a grievance, then I get a blessing, I get a miracle, because that grievance is nothing but me making myself upset because they're not acting out my script about something, or they didn't do something the way I think they should do. So I'm going to punish myself through attacking myself with anger and guilt and worry about what somebody else did. So I know to disobey that if I want to have peace. And how do you do that? You tell yourself, I am the creator of this interpretation that I'm having right now. And so when it says, how can I be the victim of a world that can be completely undone, then if your world, if that upset could be completely undone, then that means you really are not a victim. If you can change the situation, you're not a victim of it. So as soon as you go, what do you mean I'm not a victim? Well, if you choose to, there's another way that you could look at this. So that means you don't have to be a victim of this upset that you have right now. So what is the mistake that most people make? They try to give themselves the ideas. They try to make up their own answers. They don't go to the answer that's coming from the higher self. They try to make up their own answers. None of them ever work. And so they get more and more frustrated. But they don't realize that when you hear something like, you are not a victim of that situation, that's just spirit telling you what the facts. And you may not believe that, but that's a fact. And then the Course teaches you how to remove the blocks to understanding that fact. So something can be true, but it doesn't necessarily mean you agree with it or that you see it or that you understand it. Everybody with me on that one? So just because you don't believe something doesn't mean it's not true. And so if I tell you that you're a beautiful person and you deserve the love and appreciation and recognition, but you don't feel that way, heck, that doesn't have anything to do with you not deserving it. Do you see what I'm saying? So a person that loves you would know you deserved it, whether you thought so or not. So they wouldn't attack you when you're most afraid. They would offer you compassion and remind you that you deserve love when you're most afraid. And how can you tell when a person is most afraid? It's when they're the most angry and when they're attacking the most. But we react with attack with attack. We react to attack with attack. We don't tend to react. Somebody attacks you, you don't tend to come back with love or peace. So then we keep the attack going. So somebody's going to have to stop attacking to stop the attack. And that's the scariest moment on the spiritual path, is when you make the decision that you're going to be a voice for peace in the world and you're not going to attack anymore, and you think you're making yourself really vulnerable to the attack of other people. But the truth is, the minute that you have made the decision that you want to go away from attack, then the Course teaches, well, that's where the Holy Spirit, your higher power, your spiritual self comes in. It protects you and takes care of you while you're in the process of succeeding and going in the direction of being a more loving person. Yep. You see what I'm saying? It's like, just because you made the decision to be a saint or loving being, it calls you under a protection that a person wouldn't let themselves have who was not trying to be a better person. So it's almost like being rewarded for trying to be a better person, even though right now you may not always be able to be that better person, but you got the goal to be it. So you got invisible help to protect and support you while you're doing that. So that's not the same as a person who's getting angry and attacking everybody and then expecting love to come back. That person has not set a conscious intent to be a loving being. That's the difference. I'm deciding I want to be a voice for love on the planet, but I don't do it all the time. I got blocks, okay? So first of all, then Spirit is going to protect me while I'm learning how to be that loving being if I'm willing to do what it says. Now, I can't do what it says if I don't know what it says. What? You can't do what Spirit says if you don't know what Spirit says. And how will you know what Spirit says if you don't do any personal study? I'm going to keep going back to that, because as a teacher, I see people get really frustrated with the Course who are not doing it. And so you don't have to be able to do it perfectly, but you must be willing to move in a direction of what it's asking you to move in, that direction. Just like a little kid and you're a parent. Your kid might not do everything perfectly, but you're there to help protect that kid while they're learning, right? That's the same thing is true for us. We're trying to learn how to be more loving and sane. So our divine parent is also going to give us that same level of protection and support while we are learning how to be more loving. And so then you go, well, how do I do that? Well, the first thing I do is tell myself I'm not a victim of this situation. Let me give you a tip. The part of you that's not through suffering will go unconscious the minute you start hearing things that will take you out of suffering. And so I'm not ever surprised at the reactions that people have when I'm teaching, because I know that there's a part of you that just as much doesn't want you to not suffer as there's a part of you that does want to suffer. So the part of you that does want to suffer obviously is not going to listen to anything that's going to get you out your suffering. But the part of you that does want to suffer is going to give you every justification for anger, attack, and guilt, because that's going to cause your suffering. So that's why people remember the painful stuff more than they remember the loving stuff. Because if you want to punish yourself, you got to forget the loving stuff. What's the easiest way to forget that you deserve love? Put all your attention into someone who doesn't love you. That's all you got to do. So then the Course says, the next line is, I have invented the world I see. Okay? I have invented the world I see. So what happens when you say perception? Watch the difference. I have invented the perception I see. I have invented this interpretation. I'm the one that's inventing the way that I'm seeing all of you right now. Whenever I teach, there's a voice judging everything that I'm saying, the effectiveness of it, Is it reaching people? Is it meaningful? You understand? My ego never stops judging me, condemning me, criticizing me, telling me how I need to do it differently. The only difference is I try not to follow its advice. I don't spend all day trying to make sure I don't have those thoughts. What I try to do is remember that I'm not the victim of them, that I'm the one that's having those thoughts. So it says right here, like, if you think of it this way, I once dated somebody that I thought was my soulmate. But what I found out since then is that this person was my lesson mate. That's your soulmate, is your lesson mate. And so what's occurring in your life right now that might be something you're inventing? And can you name what that thing is that you are inventing? Can you name that thing without judging it? Can you say, well, right now I'm just feeling angry and upset, and that's the way I feel, and I'm the one that's making myself feel that way, and that's just the way I feel right now. And I want another way of looking at it because I don't like the way this feels. So I want another way of looking at it. I don't like the way I feel right now. I want another way of looking at it. I hope I'm wrong about the way that I'm seeing it, and I want another way of looking at it. Perhaps there's another way of me looking at this situation. What can I lose by asking for another way of looking at this situation? That's the way the Course said you handle everything. You go, all right, I got this upset on my job. I got this upset in my personal life right now. And at least I can decide I don't like what I'm feeling. I can decide. So it's perfectly okay for me to walk in this room and tell you all, how you doing, Earl? And I go, hey, I feel really crappy today, and I don't like what I'm feeling today, and I want to see things another way today. I hope I'm wrong about everything I'm telling myself today because I'm feeling upset today, and I'm feeling depressed today. So I don't want to be right about a friggin' thing I'm telling myself all day. What does a person say who doesn't know the truth? They are still unhappy about whatever they're unhappy about, but they don't want to be wrong about it. And that's the difference between a conscious person and an unconscious person. A conscious person feels all their feelings, and if it's not a peaceful feeling, they say they don't want to be right about what they're telling themselves. An unconscious person that wants to suffer, they have the same level of upset, and they spend all their energy wanting to be right about it. I'm right about what I think you're doing right now. I'm absolutely got the correct perception of what you're doing. So they want to be right about their unhappiness. A conscious being wants to be wrong about their unhappiness. See the difference? Just the opposite of what we were taught. So then it says, well, then you ask for another way of looking at it. And then the mind goes, okay, now here's a tip. When you ask yourself for another way of looking at it, don't you come up with the other way of looking at it. All right? What you do, and then people go, well, what do you do, Earl? That's why you have a spiritual path. That's why you have a curriculum that you're learning. So that when you want to have that new way of looking at it, you go to your book, you go to your lessons, you go to your path, and you see what suggestions your path is giving you about it. So let me know if I lose anybody, okay? Don't you try to make up the other way of looking at it, because you're the one that's making up the interpretation and inventing the perception that's making you feel like a victim that's got you upset to begin with. That's not coming from God. That's coming from you. And guess what? It's coming from you based on your past experiences and your past programming and your past learning. Whenever people tell you who they are, they're just telling you who they've learned they are. If you ask any person who they are, they'll tell you 10 years ago they were probably nothing like the person they are today. And 10 years from now, they're going to say the person they are today wasn't their real person. When are we going to get? There's nothing about a personality that's real. There's nothing about a person. You can't count on a personality. Personalities change all the time. That's the thing that you can count on, right? So that's what it means when it says, I have invented my personality. I've invented my perception of myself. The way I see Earl, I'm the one that's inventing that. Which is cool, right? So then it says, let's go, I haven't been into the world I see. Okay, so I made up the prison in which I see myself. All I need to do is recognize what? I made up the prison in which I see myself. I made up the situation in which I see myself. All I need to do is recognize that I'm making up everything. I'm making up my bank account. I'm making up my love life. I'm making up my health. I'm making up my wealth. I'm making up what's going to happen the rest of the day and the way it seemed the rest of the day. I'm the one that's making that up. And the minute you recognize that, that's when you're free. See, I'll never be free if I think somebody else is making it up, because now I'm their puppet. I'm their prisoner. But if I get that I'm the one that's making me unhappy all the time, at least even if I can't change my state into instant happiness, at least I know that I'm the one that can change it. So I know I'm not going to be trapped forever. But if my happiness depends, like I used the Ku Klux Klan example last week, if my happiness depended on them, on me, in their neighborhood, I'd never be happy. Right? Anytime you make your happiness dependent on what somebody else does, then you're being unfair to yourself. The Course calls it an injustice. And the Course teaches that what created us is so loving that it wouldn't let whether or not we are going to be helped be determined by how we think of each other. Spirit is saying, I'm not going to make you being helped dependent on everybody around you believing you deserve it, because most people don't love themselves enough to give the unconditional love that would help somebody, even if it looked like they didn't deserve it. You follow me? Most of us, if we think somebody doesn't deserve something, we won't do it, because we go, they don't deserve that. In the Course in Miracles is saying, no. Real love would still help them. Real love would still come to their rescue, would try to heal, would try to give another way of looking at it. So all you need to do is recognize this, and what it says, I'm free. Then it goes, I have what to myself? What's that word? Deluded myself into believing it's possible to imprison the Son of God. The Course in Miracles says you are a child of love. You are a child of the infinite. You had a creator, and that's not a person. You had a creator. It's not a man with a beard in the sky. All right? You had a creator, because you're not a body. Your creator isn't a body. You're a spiritual being having a human experience, and your creator is also spirit, and also consciousness, and also awareness. Okay? So because you are a child of an infinitely loving creator, then it's impossible for you to be in prison, because if you could be in prison, then it would mean your creator could be in prison, because if you notice parents and children, even in the animal kingdom, for an example, an eagle gives birth to eagles who have the same abilities potentially that their parents have, right? They got the same qualities, okay? That's what the Course is saying. If you're a child of a creator, then you are a creator. You also have, but does the child have to learn, right? Because they make mistakes and, right? Okay, so we're learning how to be creators. And in the process, we make some dumb choices and decisions, because we don't realize that as creators, our thought creates our reality. See, the people in the world don't know that it's their thinking and that their feelings is what's creating it and magnetizing the experience to them. They think what's creating it is something outside themselves. They don't know it's coming from their own creative ability, because we are creative beings. But we create through our thoughts, feelings, emotions, and beliefs. Okay, then that means I'm not trapped in any situation I'm in if I could change that situation by changing my mind. You can change the situation by changing your mind. When you change your mind, the situation automatically changes. When you change your mind, the situation automatically changes. If your perception has not changed, your mind has not changed. So you can say you've changed all day long, but if you're still dealing with the exact same stuff that you've always been dealing with, then you really haven't changed your mind. You're intending to. Don't beat yourself up about it. See, so nothing that I'm saying should make you depressed, because I'm saying you're free, that you have a choice. So then it goes, I was bitterly mistaken in this belief that it was possible to be imprisoned. What is the next sentence? Which I no longer want. All right, so what is it that you no longer want? I no longer want the belief that I'm imprisoned. I no longer want now, one of the ways that people imprison themselves is to get in relationships and let the other person determine their freedom. So now I'm in a relationship that the person I'm with determines how much freedom I have and what I do. That's imprisoning. Another form of imprisoning would be me being with you, criticizing you, judging you, condemning you, and trying to make you feel guilty. That's another form of me trying to imprison you. So I'm free. I'm a child of God. I'm a free being. So that means that I don't want any more beliefs that it's possible for me to be imprisoned. So what does a person need to do? They need to learn how to let go of the thoughts that make them believe they're imprisoned. Here's another tip. What's the easiest way to accept a new belief? Repeat it. The easiest way to change your mind is to take the thought that you want to believe about yourself and just say it over and over and over as much as possible. Say it when you least believe it. Say it when you least feel it. Say it when you're most upset. I feel like right now my life is caving in on me and I got so many issues going on. I don't know what I'm going to do. But it's impossible to imprison me because I'm a child of the Most High. It's impossible to imprison me because I'm a spirit. It's impossible to imprison me because I can change my mind and I can change the situation that I'm in right now. So I need to tell myself that when I'm most upset, when I'm most depressed. That's when I need to tell myself the truth. It's when I'm most depressed. As a teacher, it's been interesting to watch people not come to class when they're most depressed and most upset. And that's when they'll stay at home and just listen to their own depressing thoughts. Okay? That's the last thing you need to do when you're depressed, is stay at home by yourself. It's when you need to join with other people and other things that's going to give you another way of thinking about it other than your own. But the ego, the part of us that wants to limit us, loves to isolate us. So the first thing you're going to say is, I don't feel like going to course today because I feel depressed. Well, that's why you need to go to the course. Because otherwise, you're just going to listen to yourself. And you know what you're telling yourself is a bunch of crap because you're depressed. So you already know you're not telling yourself nothing helpful. If you are going to stay at home by yourself, read the whole time. Listen to the truth the whole time. Watch the video, but don't be at home by yourself and looking at the news. You know, it's like, come on. Oh, I need to feel uplifted right now. I think I'll watch NBC News right now. No, you only watch the news if you're going to practice the truth on it. Sometimes I watch the news so I can practice some of the things that the Course tells me to say. So that if I can practice it on people who are strangers to me, then it becomes easier for me to practice on people that are special to me. So it's easier for me to forgive the person that took my parking space than someone who robbed me. So I'm going to start with the parking space person first. I'll never start with the person that I have the most grievances with any of these exercises. And that's what people tend to do, is start out with the person that molested them. And they'll try to go straight to that person to practice truth principles. Don't do that. Do not do that. It's my suggestion. Because that just becomes an excuse for you to quit and to make the whole thing seem impossible. It's a trick. Every time you go to the hardest situation first, it's a trick to get you to stop. So, the Son of God must be what? Forever free. So that's why I put the books out, because I know it's easier to stay conscious if you're following along than if you're listening, right? Plus, it makes it easier for you to read. The Son of God, the child of love, love, the child of love must be free. How long? Forever. The child of love is as love created the child of love and not what I would make of the child of God. So what does that mean? You all are still as God created you, never what I would make of you. So anything I think of you really doesn't matter. I could cuss you out, I could judge you, I could condemn you, I could say you're the most horrible person that I've ever met. It doesn't matter. In my opinion, really doesn't matter, because you're still going to be the way love created you. You're still going to be the way God created you, no matter what anybody thinks of you. Right? Wow. Wow. Then it says, you are where God would have you be. You are where love would have you be. Now, what does that mean? What does that mean? I'm where love would have me be. Yeah, I'm where I am. I am where I need to be to learn the lessons I need to learn in love. Everything that's happening in your life is exactly what you need at this time to really start to love yourself and really learn what love is. Is it painful sometimes? It says in the book, yeah, sometimes it's painful. Not that it has to be, but the reason why it is because you're not going to do what I said first. So it doesn't have to be painful, but it's going to be painful to the extent that you're not using what I'm telling you. So at first it will seem painful because you'll still be in your old mental habits. Okay, follow me? All right, I'm saying I want to love everybody, but right now I don't really love nobody, including myself, right? So telling me to love everybody would be very painful and very hard because it's so opposite to the way I'm feeling right now. So the hardest part of anything the Course teaches is the beginning. Nothing's going to be harder than getting started. You know, I teach astrology and numerology as well as, teach the Course. And one of the things I tell my students all the time is if you want to lose weight, you just name what it is. You want to get up in the morning at 5 o'clock to meditate. What's the hardest part? Doing it, starting it. So it's never going to get harder while you are really learning it. The hardest part of any change is right now. It's not that it gets harder. When you're doing something that gets harder, then you're doing something that's not real. You're doing something that's not rooted in the truth, and something that's not rooted in love, right? Because if it's something that is meant to be, then you become more peaceful about everything that you're doing about it. So the fact that you're beginning to feel more peaceful makes it all easier than it would normally be. This is the only thing I've ever studied for 45 years in my life. I used to get real bored with stuff really, 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 really quick. And here I am 45 years later still studying the same book and obviously enthused. My family asked me, you still reading that book? You haven't finished it yet? It's like, no, it's the kind of book you read, you use for the rest of your life. And I'll tell you why. Because it works. Because why would I stop doing something that's been giving me unbelievably loving, miraculous experiences for 45 years? That'd be stupid that I would stop doing the Course, because it's working. Now, does that mean, again, I'm going to say it again, that is not saying Earl Purdy does not have times that he's inventing pain for himself. The difference is I go straight to the Course. I know I need to replace the thoughts that I'm thinking with the thoughts that it's thinking. And I know that if I will read it until I feel better, whether that's 5 minutes or 5 hours, whatever I have gone through in the world has always, my perception of it changed or the situation resolved itself. Every single time. Either my perception changed and I felt more peace, or the situation changed and I had more peace, or my perception changed and the situation changed. That has happened every single solitary time that I would read this book when I had a problem in the world, but did not stop until I felt better. So some days that might be 4 hours, some days that might be 4 minutes. Because once you begin to wake up to the truth, your individual need becomes your chief consideration. You start to do stuff as long as you need to do it. You don't just do stuff because you arbitrarily said, it's going to be 15 minutes. And that's all I'm allotting to my peace today is 15 minutes. That's not how you do it when you start to wake up. You go, at the minimum I'm going to give myself today is 15 minutes. Because I want to show spirit that I'm willing to follow its instructions so that I can have the miracles that I want. What you just said, Earl? I'm not going to be the one that's going to ultimately heal this situation anyway. What I'm doing by doing what this is telling me is giving myself more peace about the process. But you are not the one that's going to solve the problem you think you have right now. You want to make sure you keep the problem. Keep on thinking it's up to you by yourself to solve it. Without spirit, without God, without the higher power. However you want to define it. The Course in Miracles is a spiritual book that people don't want you to talk about God. That's funny. It's a spiritual book about healing your relationship with a higher power, And it's the thing that people have the most resistance to is you mentioning anything about a higher power or going to God a lot of times. It's really, don't miss the humor of the Course. It's like a joke book from God. Okay, so there's another way of looking at the world. I tell you, each one of these ideas I could spend forever on. There's another way of looking at it. Okay, so let's go back just for a second. And I want you to watch the logic of it. You got a situation in your life right now that you have some fear or upset about. You tell yourself, I'm not the victim of this situation. I'm not the victim of this situation. I'm not the victim of this situation. Now, here's another way to do it. You got friends and relatives that are going through stuff. And in your mind, but not to them, in your mind, but not to them, did I say in your mind, but not to them, you say, you're not the victim of this situation that you're going through right now. You're not the victim of this situation. So in my mind, when people are talking to me about whatever they're talking to me about, I'm trying to remember to say, you're not the victim of this thing that you're describing to me right now. Do I say it verbally? No. Why? Because you don't say anything to anybody that's going to increase their upset. And most people are least willing to hear that they're the creator of an experience when they're most upset. Because they're upset because they're not taking any responsibility. So when you tell them they're responsible, they just get mad because right now they're pretending that it's being caused by somebody or something else. So that's why you don't say anything out loud to somebody that is only going to get upset because of what you're telling them, unless you want to be attacked. Right? That's how you know when you're trying to get attacked, is that you will say something you know the other person is going to have immediate resistance and anger about. You said it's a setup. So what do? You say, well, I'm not the victim of the world I see. Then you tell yourself, I've invented this situation. I'm not a victim of this situation. I'm not a victim. They laid me off on my job today. I'm not a victim of that perception of this that I have. I am inventing the way that I see this situation. Because probably 10 years from now, I'll say getting laid off on this job was the best thing that ever happened to me. Or 10 years from now, 5 years from now, say that breakup of that relationship and me and them not being together was the best thing that ever happened to me, because by that ending, something came into my life that was 10 times better. Because everything is set up for your benefit according to the Course in Miracles. Every single thing that happens in your life is set up to give you some type of benefit that you might not see at the time. So you have invented the world that you see, then that leads you to what? There's another way of looking at the world. If I've invented it, then there's another way of looking at it. Notice this is totally practical, but will you take the time to learn to say this to yourself when you're upset? Do you see what I mean? See, when people say, well, what do I do? Sometimes I get through teaching a whole hour and somebody walk up to me at the end of the class and go, well, what do I do? I'm like, that's all I've been talking about. That's all I've been talking about for a freaking hour is what you do. How to look at stuff. Why would they ask me that? Because I didn't give them their answer. That's why they're asking me that. They were looking for me to say something that they can validate, that corresponds with the way they think the situation should be handled. Do you know what that is? The Course said they're waiting for you to tell them who else needs to change and how to help them change that person. Right? That's what I'm coming here for. The problem definitely isn't me. The problem is my kid. So I'm looking for you to give me the answer for how I can go home and change my kid. Now, your kid might be doing some things that's not cool, but the way you perceive what your kid is doing is what's determining how you feel. Your kid could be a gangster, but the way you look at your kid will determine how you feel. So if you get to a place of peace about your kid, you'll be in a better position for spirit to tell you how to deal with your kid that would help your kid. But as long as you're in conflict and anger and upset, you're receiving your guidance, but you can't hear it. So you say, God hasn't answered my prayer. No, you're not listening because you're listening to your upset. You're listening to the grievance that you have. You're listening to the fear that you have. So it seems like you're not getting any guidance. Answers. That's why I tell people, listen to this at least 4 times, because I know if you hear me one time and you walk out that door, I will bet you $1,000 you won't remember 90% of what I said 15 minutes later. Not because you're not capable of doing it, but the course has already taught me how my mind is going to defend against the truth. It actually tells me all the tricks I'm going to play to try to keep myself from being happy. That's all. So I'm never judging you all when I say stuff. I'm just relaying a message that there's nothing that you're going to do that this book hasn't already told me you're going to do. I'm serious. People think you're psychic. I said, no, I just read. And I pay attention to what it's saying. Because the book tells you exactly what everybody's going to do who don't think they're one with you. It tells you exactly what everybody's going to do who think they're separate and think that they're a body. It tells you exactly what people are going to do who believe that they're guilty or that they're unworthy. There's a behavior that goes with that attitude. And so it just tells you what this person is going to do. So you get to the point you can talk to a person 5 minutes. Literally, you can talk to them 5 minutes, listen to what, first of all, if you're going to meet them and spend time with them and you spend an hour or 30 minutes or whatever, they've never asked you one single question about yourself, that's your first red flag, is that they haven't shown any interest in who you are. So do you think that, so you're getting a preview of exactly how they're going to be if you get into an intimate friendship or relationship. You're already seeing that this is a person that's preoccupied with themselves. And so therefore, you're probably not going to get the attention that you would like to have, because they would be trying to be interested instead of trying to be interesting. Many people, they go on a date, they're trying to, well, how can I get this person to be, how can I be interesting so they'll want to see me again? It's like, okay, you go on the date or whatever with the idea of, I want to be interested in this person. What do you want? What's your purpose? What would you like to achieve? What did you learn the last year? What was the thing you learned from your last relationship? What are you trying to achieve right now? You know, what's fun for you? A person that's really a cool person that shows interest in other people, they're asking you questions. They're asking you questions. They're not assuming that they already know what you're about. That's the problem with most couples, is that they know each other so well now they don't have nothing to say to each other anymore, because they think they already got the other one totally figured out and they know exactly what they're going to do, when they're going to do it, and how they're going to do it. And you'll go to a restaurant and you'll see a couple sitting up there, and I call them the dining dead. Because you watch them, just watch them. They'll be sitting up there eating, and you'll see them not saying one single thing to each other, because they think they already know each other. It's really, when you study this stuff, it becomes so obvious why you are miserable that you get over your misery and you start moving to, all of a sudden you see, wow, this is great. Nobody's doing it to me. Nobody's doing it to me. I'm doing it to myself through the things that I'm telling myself, and I got control over me, so I'll start telling myself what I'm being told to tell myself, and that'll help remove the blocks. So what I need is to be around other people who also want to do the same thing with me, so that we can use each other to get past the blocks to love. That's the only reason why I'm doing this. I could stay at my apartment and do it online. Why am I coming here? Hopefully because I want to join with other people who want to join with each other, instead of just always seeing each other on Zoom or something only. That's great if you're in another location. That's a big, wonderful. But I would also like to experience other people who really want to love themselves and want to be happy. That's why I'm being so hardcore with you all. It's because I know people who don't want to devote themselves and working with me for whatever reason, then they're going to stop coming. And I'd rather people stop coming to my class and have one person in here that really wants to take advantage of my 45 years of obsession, than have a room full of people that nobody really loves themselves enough to really want to get serious about their own happiness. Right? Right? So it's not a judgment of anybody. It's just that you move faster with people who share your purpose and share your goal. And they've decided that they want to do it the way you want to do it too. Because the Course says you can recognize the truth about yourself and change your whole world in the next instant. And watch everything in your experience change, which is awesome. So there's another way of looking at the world. There's another way of looking at the world which leads me to I could see peace instead of this. So what's the other way of looking at the world? What's the other way of looking at that situation? I could see peace instead of this lack. I could see peace instead of this loneliness. I could see peace instead of this dissatisfaction. I could see peace instead of this. I'm getting upset right now. I want another way to look at it. I could see peace instead of this. My mind is part of God's. My mind is part of love. I am very holy. What does holy mean? Innocent. He says holy means innocent. So I was taught I was born in sin and born in guilt. I don't know about you, but that's what I learned as a child. So I wasn't taught I was born in innocence. I was taught I was born in guilt. I was taught I was born in sin. Anybody heard of that thought? Okay. So as soon as I got here as a kid, I was told I was flawed. Right? I was flawed. I'm born in sin. I'm a bad person just for being born. Now, how's that for a horrible core belief to get when you come into the world? And the world, and your world is going to be a reflection of your beliefs. Let me go back to that now. Your world is going to be a reflection of what you think about yourself and your beliefs. You come into the world and you're told you're a flawed, imperfect, sinful, guilty, bad being. So what do you think you're going to start creating for yourself from a very young age? Conflict, pain, hurt, attack, fear, insecurity. They come from a core belief in our guilt, that we're not innocent. That's deep. That's deep. That's too simple. That's too. You mean to tell me if I was to decide to let go of the idea that I'm a guilty, sinful person, even if I tell myself I don't believe that, how do you know you believe that? Your physical life will be reflecting it back to you. So you can say you're the nicest person in the world, but if your world is chaos, you got some chaos thoughts. You got some fear thoughts. You have some insecurity. You're not loving yourself. So don't fool yourself into saying, I love everybody, yet my life is shambles. No, there's some unresolved grievances that need to be released. There's some unresolved guilt that needs to be released. Then you'll see your financial situation change, and you'll see yourself having peace about it. Then you'll see your health situation change, or you'll have peace about whatever your health situation is. That's the thing that you want to realize. You want to realize that you have a mind that's part of the infinite creator of the universe. So that means you are very holy. You are very innocent. You may not see it. If you make a mistake, it's not saying that you don't make mistakes. It's not saying that mistakes are not for correction, but it's saying you aren't guilty, though. You cannot violate the laws of God. You can't do anything so bad that your creator love would not help you or heal you. That's human love. Human love is conditional 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 love. Human love is a transactional love. I'll do this for you. If you do this for me, I'll be here for you as long as you do this. Human love is transactional love. Divine love is unconditional love. Divine love takes you and meets you exactly where you are. It loves you exactly where you are right now. You don't have to change one single thing about yourself to receive real love, to receive divine love. That's what I want. And I want it so much that I just won't do the things to myself that I used to do to myself. And I won't enter into relationships that I would have entered in another time, because it's going to slow me down if I join in a relationship with someone who doesn't share my purpose. I'll say that again. Anybody that you got to convince to go on the trip, that's taking up time that you could be on the trip. Right? I'm trying to convince you to go to Hawaii. It's time I could be in Hawaii. So I need to go to Hawaii with somebody that wants to go with me. Then we can get on the plane and we can be there having a good time. But if you think you're supposed to spend all your time trying to convince somebody to love you, or convince somebody to be there for you, that's how you know it's the wrong person. Because you're having to convince them to go on the trip. It's too logical. It's just, it makes too much sense. So it'll knock your butt out. It'll just, because it makes too much sense. If I want to do something fast, do it with the person that wants to do it with you. That's when I think about how much time I spent in the past in special relationships trying to get the person to cooperate with my program. Oh man, But see, when you get to be a certain age, you don't have no more time for that no more. You can't spend 5 or 6 years on the relationship that doesn't work or the job that doesn't work or the situation because you realize the clock is ticking. So it's like, no, I don't have time to spend all my time trying to change somebody else so that I can be happy. But when you're young, you think you can do it for 10 years, 15 years. Stay with the person that you're miserable with. You just got all this time. Wait for them to change. But hey, you get to be my age, the body's age is not my age. The body's age, all of a sudden you go, I don't have time for that. I literally don't have time for that. Because you realize there's only a finite amount of time that you have in this school before you go to the next one. And so what am I going to do? I'm going to keep reminding you all that you're not alone, that your mind is part of love's, and that you're very innocent. I'm going to also remind you that you could be seeing peace, wealth, abundance, and love instead of whatever you're seeing right now. I'm going to remind you that there's another way of looking at this situation that you're in. I'm going to remind you that you're the one that's inventing the way that you see this. And I'm going to remind you that you are not a victim of the world you see. And we're going to go to Hawaii. And we're going to go to Disney World. And we're going to go to the movie. And we're going to go hiking. You see what I'm saying? It's not saying you can't enjoy the world. It's saying be clear about what your purpose is in the world. Woo! All right. I'm going to stop here. See, I just be getting warmed up and it's be time for me to stop. You know, because this book is so freaking deep. It is so deep. It says things in such a way that it's like that. You know. So what is my ego going to do? The ego is going to say, forget what you just heard today. Forget what you just heard today. Forget what you just heard today. But would you play a game with me where you would go, I got this situation that I'm dealing with right now. The first thing that I'm going to tell myself is, let's make it real, right? So the first thing I'm going to tell myself is, I'm not the victim of the world I see. I've invented the world I see. I can see peace instead of this. There's another way of looking at the world. I can see peace instead of this. See, make it practical. Say that. Because that's you signaling to your higher power that you're willing for it to take over in the situation. That's why you do it. Because it's your way of saying, higher power, spirit, I want you to handle this situation that I'm in and my perception of it right now. I want you to be in charge of my relationship. I want you to be in charge of every aspect of my life. That's how it's a way of communicating would be you're being obedient to what you're being asked to do. That's how you show that you mean it. It's like, if you ever seen those kung fu movies where the kid wants to train under the master. Have you seen those movies? Mm-hmm. And then they'll make the freaking kids sit out in front of the gate for like 3 weeks or something before they'll let the kid in. I totally understand why they do that. Because that kid wants to learn kung fu. So that kid's going to do exactly what the master says. He's going to work as hard as he possibly can in order for him to become a master himself. That's the way the course is. Nobody who's not serious about the course lasts 2 seconds in it. You just can't. It's not a book that you're going to just read and you're not interested. It ain't happening. So by the time a person gets through it, I always tell people, if you have read the course, it just prepared you to read the course. If you say you read the course and that was the only time you read it, I personally, it's my judgment, I really don't, I don't believe that you got it at all, period. Because if you're really getting it, it would make you want to do it more if that was your path. It would make you want to, you wouldn't put it down. You would be going, I need to be doing this. And guess what? If you don't, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to punish you. You know what's going to happen? Your path will come to you another way. It'll come to you through some other teachers, through some other teaching. What's important is that you want to see things another way. That's what's important. Because if you do, it's going to come to you in the way you can receive it the most. So you're on a path that you're not by yourself. If something's scaring you right now and your life seems like it's more challenging, believe me, it just means you threaten your ego. It means you started to try to love yourself more than you ever have. And there's an ego part of you that's trying to convince you that it doesn't work. And that what you have been trying to do doesn't work, because it is working so much that that part of you feels threatened. So when you're most threatened, it's probably when you're making your biggest advance. Why are you threatened? What is it that's making you want to give up? Why would that be there except that you're beginning to realize the truth? I want you to mark my words. The next 2 years will change mankind as we know it. I'm telling you. I'm trying to warn everybody because I'm a nerd. And so I want you to know the technological advances that are happening right now is like, for most people, it's like people sitting on a beach and a tsunami is coming and they don't see it. That's what it's. I'm watching everybody do that right now. From every direction, we are in a new age. We're in a new paradigm. That old way of dealing with stuff, attacking each other, being separate from each other, competing with each other, a few people appearing to have all the power over other people, all that's artificial intelligence is going to change everything within the next 2 years. So it can be used to benefit you, or it can be used to look like you're hurting yourself through it. If you use these principles, you'll be okay. See, that's the thing. No matter what the world is throwing at us, someone that has a spiritual attunement, someone who is tuning into the truth, they're going to be okay. But those who insist on keeping the old paradigm of blame and separation, then they're going to give themselves lessons too. But it just be painful lessons. And your lessons don't have to be painful. They really don't. So I just want to tell you. So I want to be more devoted. So that's my goal. My goal is to be more devoted to you, be more devoted to teaching, being more devoted to whoever also wants to be devoted to me. There's a line in the Course that Jesus, or the Course says that, your devotion to me entitles me to my devotion to you is equal. It's all equal. It's equal. We got to be equally devoted to the truth, equally devoted to love. And so if I want to have that in my life, I've got to be that with you. How can I deceive you and think I'm going to have relationships that are fulfilling in my life? Right? And the Course says people who don't trust you and you know your heart's in the right place, the Course teaches they are untrustworthy. They're the ones you need to know are untrustworthy. Why are they immediately going to why they can't trust you? They're not trustworthy. That's why they're that way. So the Course teaches that that it gets to the point that no one has private thoughts around you, and you know what's happening in every situation you're in. So you'll be able to make better choices so you won't go through the pain. And this is all right here. We got it. And we have each other. Wow. So I'm going to give you a chance to share this way if you want to. I love you if you do. I love you if you don't. If you're online and you'd like to make a financial expression of appreciation as a full-time teacher, I appreciate that. You can use go to my website, earlpurdy.com, or you can use Cash App, PayPal, or you can use Zelle. I really appreciate that. All you need is my email address. My email address is earlpurdy@earlpurdy.com. I'm trusting. I'm trusting. I'm available for clarity sessions and coaching sessions. If you want one-on-one sessions so we can take whatever your issue is, that issue that you've been using to keep yourself blocked, then have a session with me. If you really want to be a devoted, thank you for sharing, Pastor. If you really want to learn the Course in Miracles and it's your spiritual path, and you want to take advantage of 45 years of me doing it, 40 years of me doing it full time, so I can save you heck of a lot of time, then schedule a session with me for the explicit purpose of me giving you all kinds of tips and showing you how to read that material and use that material to give you the breaks that it's trying to give you. You don't have to invent the wheel. You do not have to invent the wheel. It's already been invented. Take advantage of it. I'm here for you to save you time. That's the only reason why I'm in your life, is to save you time. That's the only purpose of a relationship, is to save time. The Court says we use them to delay ourselves. Instead of using the relationship to move you forward, you use the relationship to cause you pain, and then you're spending all your time trying to deal with the pain you caused yourself in the relationship instead of moving forward. So it's like saying, let me show you how to use all your relationships for your joy and for your peace. It's a way to do that, but you don't know how to do it. Stop trying to give yourself happiness by yourself. That's what it says over and over again. And I'm doing that, and I'm seeing it. So all of my classes on YouTube and on Facebook. Go to my website, earlpurdy.com, please, and sign up for my contact list. I got a lot of stuff that I'm working on, that the Spirit's giving me for this fall, because I've got to be ready for the tsunami and to be a part of the help that people are going to need during the tsunami, because they are just so unaware of what's going on right now. And it's kind of sad sometimes, is that people have no idea what's going on right now and the changes that are happening. And we're gonna go through more changes between now and 2030 than the last 300, 400 years. I'm telling you. And it can be used to your advantage if you get aware now, if you get conscious now. And that's what this is all about, what all these teachings are about. So help is available. It's just a matter of, do we want to take advantage of it? I'm here. And there are millions of others like